In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 MLB games happening on May 18, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 MLB games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. There's something almost cinematic about a Monday night at Yankee Stadium in mid-May, the kind of night where the air is just warm enough, the lights are humming, and a wounded division rival rolls into the Bronx to start a 4-game set they probably wish they could fast forward through. The Yankees come into this one sitting at 28-18 overall, with a 14-6 mark inside their own ballpark, the kind of home dominance that makes road teams shrink the moment the subway doors open at 161st Street. Toronto, meanwhile, is dragging an 8-14 road record into town, still nursing the hangover from a deep October run and a roster that's been duct-taped together for weeks. The Yankees pitching staff has quietly been the story of the American League this year, posting the lowest team earned run average in the entire league, the kind of group that makes you feel like you're stealing a run when you scratch one across. Toronto's starter is a crafty veteran lefty whose surface numbers look respectable, but peek under the hood and you'll find an expected earned run average pushing past 6, which is fancy stats talk for the bottom is about to fall out. That regression usually lands in the wrong neighborhood for the pitcher, and a Bronx lineup that leads all of baseball in home run rate at home against southpaws is about as bad a place to find it as you can imagine, especially with that famous short porch in right field acting like a magnet. Toronto's rotation is also a triage unit right now, with a small army of starters parked on the injured list, which means even if their guy keeps it close for 5 frames, the bullpen has to be stretched thin night after night in a 4-game series. The Yankees haven't been red hot lately. Sure, their last 10 games haven't exactly been a highlight reel, but the underlying engine of this team, the rotation, the pen, the home crowd, and a lineup that loves a lefty, is humming along even when the wins haven't been pretty. The price tag is steep, no question about it, but a number like this fits a team that's built like a fortress on its home turf against an opponent traveling in with a duffel bag full of injury reports and a road record that screams "Get me home." As our first pick for this matchup, the New York Yankees money line is our full game side pick. Flip the lens for a second because the total in this one has its own little story to tell, and it's a fun one. On paper, 2 lefty starters facing each other usually whispers under. That's the textbook red. Reality has a funny way of laughing at the textbook though, because the Yankees specifically chew up left-handed pitching at home, leading the entire league in home run rate against southpaws inside their ballpark, which flips the whole script on its head. The Toronto starter is also a regression candidate waiting to happen, with peripheral numbers screaming that his shiny earned run average is on borrowed time, and there's no scarier ballpark for a lefty running on luck than this one. On the flip side, the Yankees guy has been solid, but Toronto still has serious thump in their order, with a freshly imported Japanese slugger crushing the ball and a former MVP first baseman who has tortured pitching for years. The bullpens are where this thing really tilts toward fireworks though, because Toronto's injured rotation has forced their relievers into more innings than a long-haul trucker logs miles, and tired arms in a 4-game series have a way of leaving fastballs over the heart of the plate in the 7th and 8th. Yankee Stadium itself has been one of the most hitter-friendly parks in the league this season, with park factors leaning heavily toward offense, which is the cherry on top of an environment already built for crooked numbers. The total is sitting at 9, which is the kind of middle-of-the-road number that gets blown past when even one lineup catches a groove, and the Yankees alone are averaging right around 5 runs a night at home. Add a Toronto lineup that's perfectly capable of scratching 4 or 5 against a lefty even on an off day. Factor in a humid May evening with the wind sometimes whipping out toward right, and the math gets really friendly really fast. This feels less like a coin flip and more like a setup, 2 lefties, a hitter's park, banged-up pens, and a Yankees lineup that turns into a different beast under the lights against arms like these. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Milwaukee Brewers versus Chicago Cubs. There's something almost cinematic about this one when you really sit with it. The Brewers come strolling into Wrigley Field carrying ghosts from last October, the same opponent that bounced the Cubs in 5 games during the National League Division Series and turned a 92-win Chicago campaign into a quiet winter. That sting hasn't washed off. And now here come the crew again, only this time the calendar reads May, the ivy is greening up, and the home dugout is staring out at a 29-18 record glowing like a neon sign over Lakeview. Shota Imanaga has been throwing absolute silk this year, the kind of bounce-back campaign where you can almost feel his confidence reaching through the broadcast. That signature four-seamer that went sideways on him for stretches of last summer, it's alive again, humming at the top of the zone the way it did during his All-Star rookie run. The splitter is biting harder, the command is laser precise, and his body language on that mound has a quiet swagger that says, "I figured something out over the winter, and you're about to find out what." The Brewers, on the other hand, are handing the ball to a rookie right-hander who has yet to look anything close to comfortable at this level, walking guys at a clip that makes pitching coaches sweat through their pullovers, getting tagged when he leaves anything middle, and rolling into the loudest building he's seen all spring. Drop that profile into Wrigley, into a stadium that hums when the home club's rolling, against a lineup that has Alex Bregman setting a veteran tone, Pete Crow Armstrong stalking pitchers from center, Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki anchoring the heart of the order, with Michael Busch and Nico Horner finding ways to extend innings, and you can see how this shapes up. Craig Counsell, by the way, is squaring off against the franchise he used to skipper, and there's nothing he loves more than dragging a tactical edge into this rivalry, having already steered this club through 2 separate 10-game winning streaks before we've even hit Memorial Day. That kind of identity matters when the lights come on. The Cubs have the better arm, the better building, and a notebook full of unfinished business from last fall. As our first pick for this matchup, the Cubs' money line is our full-game side pick. Now the conversation pivots and gets a little spicier. There's a perception problem brewing around this game. You glance at Imanaga's earned run average, you see elite lefty at home, and the brain wants to file the whole thing as a sleepy little 3-2 chess match. But peel back a layer and the texture of this matchup changes in a hurry. That Brewers rookie has been a giving tree to opposing lineups, generous to a fault, surrendering hard contact at an alarming rate while his command wobbles inning to inning. A Cubs offense that knows how to grind out at-bats is exactly the kind of group that pushes his pitch count into the basement by the 4th, which kicks the game over to a Brewers bullpen that's already running on fumes, leaning heavily on a workhorse reliever who's appeared in roughly half the team's games this season. Stretch that group thin against a lineup like Chicago's, and runs come in bunches. On the other side of the diamond, the Brewers' offense is finally cooking too, with Christian Yelich back from the injured list, Jackson Chourio healthy again, Andrew Vaughn rejoining the heart of the order, and William Contreras and Bryce Turing giving the crew its first taste of a fully loaded batting card all season. Here's the wrinkle most casual viewers will miss. Imanaga has been the rare Cubs starter the Brewers historically square up against, a matchup that's never quite favored him during his Chicago tenure, even when he's been dealing against everyone else on the schedule. Toss in the May Wrigley weather, that beautiful Lake Michigan wild card that can flip the building from a pitcher's confessional to a launching pad with one shift of wind direction, and the variance only climbs. There's the rivalry tax, too. 2 teams that just shared a National League Division Series stage, both knowing that every May win tightens the National League Central screw a little tighter, which usually translates to swings that mean something earlier than they typically would. And the Cubs bullpen, let's not skip past this, is patched together with duct tape right now, missing a handful of late-inning arms thanks to a brutal injury list, which means when Imanaga hits his pitch count, that door creaks open faster than the Brewers might expect. Stir it all together, a struggling rookie on the bump, a healthier Brew Crew lineup, 2 offenses with real teeth, 2 bullpens with miles on the tires, and a ballpark that has historically loved to mock projected totals. As our second pick for this matchup, the over on the projected total is our full game total pick. Boston Red Sox versus Kansas City Royals. Picture this, a Monday night in mid-May, thunderstorms rolling across the Missouri sky, 2 clubs sitting well under .500, and one of them is being treated like a sizable favorite for reasons the casual viewer might not catch right away. Both rosters could honestly use a hug at this point. Boston's been a soap opera since April. They pink-slipped Alex Cora after a 10-17 start, handed the reins to interim guy Chad Tracy, who came straight up from AAA Worcester, and they've spent the past 3 weeks trying to figure out which version of themselves is the real one. Kansas City has been a study in untapped potential, talented on paper but bleeding games through a leaky bullpen bullpen and a lineup that's been stuck in molasses for weeks at a stretch. But peel back a layer and the story tips harder than the surface suggests. The Royals are running their late innings on duct tape and crossed fingers right now. Their all-star closer from last season lost his velocity in spring, then took a comebacker off the foot, and the latest twist is a shoulder problem that's pushed his timeline into the foggy distance. The fill-in arm has been racking up saves, sure, but he's been walking hitters at a rate that's basically the second highest in baseball among guys with any real innings load. And when you're handing out free passes in the ninth inning of a tight ball game, the wheels come off in a hurry. Boston, meanwhile, can hand the ball to a 38-year-old lefty in the ninth who somehow keeps lighting up the radar gun like he's 28, posting numbers that look like a misprint. That matters a ton when you're projecting close, low-scoring affairs. Now flip over to the starting pitching wrinkle. The Royals veteran righty on the bump tonight has been wobbling lately. His last handful of outings have ranged from forgettable to flat-out bad. The swing and miss stuff hasn't been generating chase the way it usually does, and a Boston lineup that grinds counts could turn that into real trouble in a hurry. The Red Sox starter is coming off 2 consecutive scoreless outings since his return from a hamstring strain, and even though he's still working on a pitch count, the feel is back, the command is sharp, and he's painting corners like he never left. Pile on the historical edge between these two clubs and the picture gets sharper. Boston's gone 4-1-0 straight up in the last 5 meetings between them, and they're 4-2-0 on the road over their last 6 games. Sometimes you look at a sub-.500 club traveling to the heartland and shrug, but the under-the-hood ingredients here are pointing one direction with real force, and the market hasn't fully caught up to it yet. As our first pick for this matchup, the Boston Red Sox money line is our full game side pick. Now flip off the team side brain entirely and just stare at how runs are actually going to show up on this scoreboard. The total opened at 8, which feels like a holdover from summers past at this ballpark, except neither of these offenses is anywhere near launchpad shape right now. Boston's running 3.7 runs a game, 27th in baseball, which is essentially flatlining at the plate. Kansas City sits 24th at 4.1 runs per game, technically better but still bottom-tier territory, and when you zoom into recent stretches against decent pitching, the bats have gone radio silent for whole innings at a time. Layer the starters on top of that and the picture gets even murkier for any overchaser. Both probable starters are veterans who pound the zone, lean on command rather than blow you away velocity, and tend to produce quick innings when they're locked in. The Royals righty owns Kauffman Stadium historically. His homework over the past couple of years has been some of the best of his career, and the cool, breezy Midwest air tends to make his off-speed stuff look like it's falling off a table. Boston's righty is on a pitch count after working back from injury, but back-to-back scoreless outings tell you the form is real, and he's keeping the ball off barrels with surgical accuracy. The park itself is a huge character in this story. Kansas City pulled the fences in for the 2026 season. That's true, but the case still plays bigger than the league average. The wind tends to knock balls down in left field. The power alleys remain among the deepest in the majors, and the cool overnight air after a stormy afternoon has a way of deadening contact even more. Speaking of stormy, the Monday night forecast hints at lingering moisture from the Sunday system that rolled through, a south wind whipping 15 to 25 miles an hour, and temperatures dropping into the mid-50s by the later innings. Baseballs don't fly the same in that kind of soup. Ask any meteorologist who moonlights as a baseball nerd. Toss in the trend that Boston has gone under in 7 of its last 8 games, and a clear pattern emerges of low-scoring grinders rather than touchdown-style box scores. The bullpen edge cuts the same way too, since Boston's late-inning trio is elite at posting zeros, and even Kansas City's shakier ninth-inning situation is built around arms that miss bats when they aren't nibbling. When you've got 2 pitching-leaning profiles, 2 struggling offenses, a ballpark that still suppresses power even after the renovations, and whether that's practically begging pitchers to feast, chasing crooked numbers in this matchup is the wrong corner of the bar to be standing in. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Houston Astros versus Minnesota Twins. Picture the scene at Target Field on a chilly Monday in Minneapolis, late May, with that lake effect coolness hanging in the air and one of these dugouts walking into the night with a literal patchwork pitching plan stitched together over the weekend. The Twins, fresh off a rough 3-game set where they had to scrap and claw just to avoid a sweep by Milwaukee, are running out a bullpen day tonight. They're opening with a hard-throwing young lefty who's barely got a month of big league innings on his ledger and has been used almost exclusively out of the pen since getting called up in April. That's not a knock on the kid. His fastball lives in the upper 90s and his ceiling is the real deal, but stretching a reliever-turned-opener through a deep order more than once is asking for trouble. Behind him sits a Minnesota bullpen that just got squeezed through the ringer on Sunday, burning through 5 different arms in 4 innings to nail down a 1-run win, with their closer barely escaping a 9th-inning rally. You don't need a calculator to see how tired those arms are walking into another long evening. Now flip your gaze across the diamond. The Astros are limping into this series sitting at 19-29, dead last in the American League West, fresh off getting blanked by Texas 8-0 on Sunday, and the record is honestly as ugly as it reads. But records have a funny way of lying about what's actually standing in the batter's box on a given night. The Houston offense is top 5 in the entire sport in batting average, top 5 in slugging, top 5 in OPS, and the lineup card is still stuffed with veteran bats who've spent the last decade authoring October baseball. Asking a duct-taped pitching plan to muzzle that group for a full 9 innings is a heavy lift. Yeah, Houston's own starter has been an outright disaster this year, a high-priced Japanese arrival wearing an earned run average north of 9 through 4 big league starts, but the stuff is still legitimate, the upside still flashes from time to time, and even 1 league average evening from him is plenty of runway for that offense to grab the win. The market reads it the same way, the line sitting essentially as a coin flip with Houston tagged as a sliver of a favorite, which feels like real value once you stack the matchup pieces side by side. As our first pick for this matchup, the Houston Astros money line is our full game side pick. Bullpen games are roulette wheels with cleats on. You're piecing together 3, 4, sometimes 5 different arms across a single evening, asking pitchers who've barely seen the bottom of an opposing order to suddenly navigate it cold, hoping nobody runs out of gas or catches a comebacker off the shin. Toss in the wrinkle that the Twins relievers just got dragged through the mud on Sunday, with 5 of them stacking together to barely nail down a 1-run win against the Brewers, and you're staring at a tired group walking right back into another 9-inning grind. On the other side of the diamond, the Houston lineup has been one of the loudest in the entire league this year, top 5 in average, top 5 in slugging, top 5 in OPS, the kind of crew that punishes the type of mistake a fatigued reliever tends to leave hanging over the middle of the plate. Now flip it around for a beat. The Astros are running out a starter wearing an earned run average north of 9, a guy who just got tagged for 6 runs in his last outing, who's been handing out free passes like flyers at a county fair, and who's been giving up rocketed contact every time the ball does meet the bat. Even with Byron Buxton nursing a sore hip and missing the last few games, the Minnesota lineup still has Royce Lewis back from the injured list, Ryan Jeffers riding the high of a tie-breaking homer Sunday afternoon, and a group that knows how to capitalize when free base runners start showing up. Both clubs average right around 4.5 runs per contest on the season. That's the long blender of the full sample, but recent form whispers louder than season-wide averages, and both pitching staffs have been leaking at the wrong moments. Target Field plays mostly neutral as ballparks go, no real suppression baked into the dimensions or atmosphere, and tonight's forecast points to mild May air with no jet stream gusts trying to blow fly balls back into the gloves. There's a light drizzle in the forecast, sure, but a soft rain tends to wreck grip and command well before it ever knocks a ball back down, and a couple of mistake pitches in a tight strike zone gets the scoreboard ticking pretty quickly. Stir in the obvious fatigue weighing on the Minnesota pen, plus a Houston pitching staff that ranks near the bottom of the league in long balls surrendered, and runs should find the scoreboard from a handful of different directions. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Texas Rangers versus Colorado Rockies. You've got one team that just wrapped up the worst season in their franchise's long, miserable history, a 43-119 disaster that left Denver baseball fans staring at the wall by August. That same group is now stumbling through May at a sub.400 clip, and just last week they lost their flame-throwing young ace to the injured list with an elbow sprain. On the other side of the field, you've got a club that shipped out a small fortune in prospects this past winter to plant a left-handed all-star at the top of their rotation, a guy specifically brought in to give them swing and miss firepower from the left side. Texas built this whole 2026 roster around pitching, and the staff numbers back it up. Their group sits comfortably in the top 10 in the majors in earned run average and WHIP, while Colorado's staff is camped out near the bottom of the league. The lineup matchup tilts the same direction once you peel back the layers. Sure, the Rockies snagged the natural lift of playing a mile in the sky, the kind of place where a routine fly ball can suddenly grow wings. But the lefty Colorado's running out there tonight is a 37-year-old veteran with a career earned run average above 5 at this exact ballpark, and he's already been walking guys at a higher clip through his early starts. The lefty Texas is throwing has the kind of crisp, swing and miss stuff that travels just fine, altitude or no altitude. Stack that on top of Colorado going 2-8 across their last 10 while playing some genuinely uninspired baseball, and the path here gets pretty clean. Texas isn't a juggernaut, far from it. They've got their own warts and walking wounded. But park a slumping team in front of a road team that's clearly winning the pitching matchup on paper, and history tends to whisper which way to lean. As our first pick for this matchup, the Texas Rangers money line is our full game side pick. Now flip the camera and look at the total. This is where bettors trip themselves up, because the second the words Coors Field pop up on the slate, the brain starts hearing fireworks and home run trots and visions of 14-11 slugfests. Fair enough, the place has earned that reputation over 3 decades of thin-air baseball. But the matchup itself tells a quieter story if you're willing to listen for it. Both starting pitchers tonight are left-handed. Both have a track record of mixing speeds and eating innings. Both lineups they're staring at rank near the bottom of the league in basically every offensive category that matters. Texas is missing a chunk of their middle order to injury, with their best young bat shelved on the injured list nursing a forearm strain that's already had a setback in his rehab. That guts a lineup that wasn't exactly stinging the baseball in the first place. Colorado, meanwhile, has been streaky at home, capable of hanging crooked numbers in the right matchup, but mostly looking lost when a quality lefty with feel for the curveball and changeup is on the mound. That's a perfect description of what they're seeing tonight. The Rangers come in ranked near the bottom of all of baseball in team batting average and inside the bottom 5 in runs scored, which isn't some weird small sample fluke. That's a real-life 2-month sample size we're working with. Yes, a stiff Denver breeze can flip a game inside an inning. Yes, one wobbly bullpen stretch can blow the whole thing wide open. But the projected workload from these 2 veteran lefties, paired with how genuinely lost both offenses have looked through the first quarter of the season, points toward a much quieter night than the venue's reputation suggests. This isn't a the starters will throw shutouts pick. It's simply a neither of these lineups is good enough to clear the inflated number the book is asking you to climb over pick. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.